to October 18th, 6. The sound of swearing at him outside the door was audible in Jinhook's ear. The family always talked about Jinhook behind his back, but Jinhook didn't care anymore because he had Minnie. When he was depressed or struggling with life, he didn't have to look for the stars every night and endure the pain alone. Just hanging out with Minnie and looking at her face made him forget the discord between his family, along with the unpleasant noise that came to his ears, at least for a moment. On that day, he was spending time with Minnie in the playground in front of his house, using Eunho as a shield. On a winter night, the 16-year-old boy and girl were chatting regardless of the cold weather. "Which high school are you going to?" Minnie asked right away. Her red cheeks and big clear eyes were so pretty that Jinhook was looking at Minnie with wonder. When Minnie asked again in a slightly loud voice, Jinhook came to his senses and said, "Probably Samsung High School. Maybe I'll be an athlete. Didn't really fancy studying." "Oh, I'm going to Hyundai High School. We can't see each other at school anymore. Can we?" Jinhook was disturbed at the news. The high school that Minnie would attend was a place far across the river. "Oh, well, let's see each other often." Jinhook tried to speak calmly and looked at the sky with a deep sigh. At that time, white snow was falling faintly from the sky. Unlike Minnie, who was enjoying the snow, Jinhook was still in deep agony, looking into the empty space. Only the sound of fists slashing the air and short, gasping breaths were heard. Sweat poured down the floor like rain. 2 men were sparring on the ring with only headgear, and at the sharp sound of the bell, the 2 men returned to the corner and took off their headgear. Jinhook came away relatively unscathed. The coach approached and began to check Jinhook. Coach Lee, who has the eyes of a tiger with his head peeled off, is the second person in Jinhook's life who sincerely cared for him. After entering high school, the reality Jinhook had forgotten thanks to Minnie came back. The family did not look at Jinhook anymore, and Jinhook, who had never made a proper friend other than Minnie due to his unique personality, became alone and became dark like a faded star, just like he was before he met Minnie. Despite the promise, there was no time to see each other, just an occasional phone call to share concerns. The bug-like noise outside the door made Jinhook feel lonelier. He would have taken this for granted in the past, but after Minnie came into his life, it started to sound harsher and crueler. The previously insensitive emotions began to take color through her, and Jinhook found out that he could also be loved, so the current situation began to feel much more terrible and difficult. What if he hadn't met Minnie? What if Minnie hadn't come back? What if Minnie had treated him the same as his other friends? The wall of Minnie which surrounded Jinhook and blocked reality collapsed, and real pain strangled Jinhook. Just as a beast who couldn't forget the first taste of meat, Jinhook, who received kindness and love for the first time, did not become as insensitive as before. He was just angry about why he had to live in this unfairness and cried silently under the blanket at night. The child who used to walk only face down was now a violent and rough child. The irritation and anger caused by not seeing Minnie, the resentment from his surroundings, and all emotions were twisted and twirled and expressed through violent behavior. The feeling of neglect and abandonment from his family made Jinhook rougher and even more alone. Jinhook, who was now openly a troublemaker in and out of school, decided to dive into his current hobby, boxing, through school counseling. That's how he met the current coach, Lee.